I'm here at the eastern Adriatic coastline, known for its well-preserved early modern architecture, crystal clear blue waters, olive oil, wine, and lavender. Now, while I might cater to our desires for fresh seafood off the grill, of which there's plenty, the Adriatic's not really known as being home of large sea creatures. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you never know what you're going to find underneath the surface of that water. So come with me as we dive into the shallows of Croatia's Adriatic coast. Now, one of the first things that you're going to notice is that the water is insanely clear and utterly beautiful. And that's because it's oligotrophic, meaning that it has low nutrient counts. But chances are, you're going to find yourself near one of Croatia's many historic seaside towns. So, let's dive in next to one of these and see what it's like underwater. And sometimes, you might notice that the water around these towns can be pretty murky and doesn't look anything like it does from the surface. And that could be for several different reasons, either because of all the runoff from the coastal sediments, or just because of the surface conditions of the water. Sometimes, it could get a tad bit rough out here. But even though it's murky, you're still going to find some impressive life forms out here. Like these guys. They might look like spiky alien turds, but really, they're just common sea cucumbers, and you could spot them everywhere. Try and look harder, and you'll find some of these little camouflaged fellas, like this crab here, just crawling along and searching for some nearby shelter. But even here in these murkier waters, you're going to find some big fish, curious fellas coming up to say hello. Or try going and looking under the rocks and see what's going on down there. Like this little sea bass here, he's like, "Hey, this spot's taken." But for the most part, the locals are pretty friendly. You might find some solitary individuals like this saddled sea bream here, trying to pick food off the rocks, just minding his own business and going with the flow. But almost everywhere you go, you're going to find loads and loads of schools of various small fishes. It's a really sociable community here. In a former socialist country, the locals still like to hang out in groups and everyone seems to know each other. Now, if it's clearer waters you're looking for, get away from the towns and go to one of Croatia's many protected zones, like this area here where you'll find crystal clear blue waters and tons of life. The official tagline of Croatia's tourism board is "Croatia full of life," and when you go underwater, you're going to see exactly why. Everywhere you go in these waters, you're going to find loads of different kinds of fish hanging out in rather diverse communities. They come in all different shapes and sizes, like these anchovies here, or these two branded sea breams hanging out, and oh, there's a painted coma. There's silver sea breams with black stripes, and black sea breams with no stripes. Now, certain parts of these areas might seem kind of desolate, and you might go quite a while without seeing any other signs of life. But the rocks and reefs themselves can be quite impressive. Try and keep your eyes peeled, because like in the murkier waters, even in these clear oligotrophic waters, you're going to find masters of disguise, like these fish that just kind of blend in with the scenery. You can follow them around or just sit and watch them swim by. Or you could be brave and check out the alternative scene under the rocks here, where you'll find some curious individuals. Always happy to see an out-of-towner. Don't be shy, follow the crowd, and just see where they lead you. You never know where you might end up. Like many Croatians, this crab here is just taking a daily siesta. Sometimes they even take a couple hour coffee breaks. But this guy, he's just taking a nap. These painted sea basses can be really territorial, but respect the local customs and you'll find out that they're pretty friendly. The possibilities here are endless, but you'll also find out that some of the locals are not quite as pleasant as others. Now, as you can see, there's loads of sea urchins. You gotta be extra careful, because if you rub fins with them, it's not gonna feel good and it's not gonna be easy to get the stingers out.
Some local remedies include rubbing garlic on your wounds, or some say that the local alcohol known as rakia, as they call it, is the perfect thing to put on it. But your best bet is to try and just stay away. If you get bored, you could always pretend you're in Star Wars attacking the Death Star and try and swim through these nooks and crevices. But for a chubbier shark like me, that might be a bit difficult. But still, it's fun to get close and look from above at least. Life here is good. In these warm, clear waters, wherever you are, you'll find a sight that catches your attention. And the locals, for the most part, don't mind if you quietly observe and take it all in. Overall, most of the coastline is really clear and really beautiful, and you'll see some incredible contrasts between the reefs and the azure waters. Now, if you're more of a surface dweller and don't like to go too far from where the sun meets the sea, just keep in mind that here on the Eastern Adriatic, the ground drops off pretty dramatically, and oftentimes it could get really deep. Some parts can get so deep that the sea bottom is far from sight, and you feel like you're in a never-ending blue abyss, which can be pretty frightening sometimes. But even here, in the deeper, open water zones, you will see signs of life. Just as they say, this place is full of it. Head towards the bottom and you'll see schools of fish like you do everywhere else, but you might notice that they get a little bit bigger and bigger the deeper you go. Like these majestic mullets just gliding along. Now they might be big, but don't be intimidated. They're just fish like you, looking for a good bite to eat and a comfortable place to chill out. Now when you get down to the sea floor of these deeper areas, you're going to see that it's a bit desolate and can be kind of depressing for a solo traveller. Let's go back to where all the life is, near the shore and the water's surface. Now while Croatia is full of life, it's also full of boats. Almost everywhere you go along the coastline, you're going to find boats just floating around calmly in the ripples and wakes. And like the coral reefs all around the coast, the boats actually serve as home for thousands and thousands of different types of fish. And here you're going to find some of the most dramatic schools of fish floating around using these boats as cover. Now while most of the groups of fish like to stick with their own kind, they don't seem to mind if you swim around them and tag along for a little bit, as long as you keep a healthy distance. Even underneath monstrosities like this floating aquapark that some genius decided to put right in the middle of the water, you're going to find life swimming around underneath. After all is said and done, the only conclusion that you could come to is that Croatia's Eastern Adriatic coast is breathtakingly beautiful and has tons of life, even if you don't see some of the bigger marine mammals and fishes found in other seas and oceans. You're still going to see tons of variety and lots of beauty. Now, despite all the wonderful sights, things aren't all well. Almost everywhere you look, you're going to see signs of human pollution. This really fragile ecosystem is even more susceptible to human intrusion. So, if you're going to come here and visit, please make sure to tread lightly and keep it clean. Now, Croatia prides itself on its environmental protection, but it's also wholly dependent on tourism, and every year thousands upon thousands of guests arrive at these shores, and it's really hard for them not to leave the imprint. So, let's help the locals by keeping this region beautiful, blue, and healthy for the future. Overall, if you come visit the waters here, you won't be disappointed in the beauty, variety, and all that this part of the Eastern Adriatic shore has to offer. Thanks for swimming along. I'm Finn Makovic, and I'll catch you next time in another part of the globe under the water.